Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to go back to Robert F. Kennedy's book because I think it's almost a textbook. It's almost a textbook in the sense that you learn exactly what regulatory capture is. It's highly detailed, highly referenced, and highly disturbing because it describes almost no boundary to the corruption that's endemic and infiltrated our agencies in the United States. It's highly focused on US agencies. However, it does touch on international agencies. And over the last several decades, essentially pharma is the agencies. They're actually inseparable. There's not only what we call the revolving door, which is, if you behave on one side, you get the golden parachute job on the other, right? So if you're in a regulatory position, what is your natural inclination? Do you want to be, I'm sorry to use the word, a hard ass against pharmaceutical lobbying? Or do you want to comply knowing that you have a very bright and profitable future? Money drives so much. It's such a big, powerful incentive. And so you see this revolving door. Pharma people being hired by political, with new administrations and vice versa. And so they tend to work together. And so I've had to come to learn, I used to be a guy, just an ICU jockey. I was a lung specialist and an ICU specialist. All I tried to learn as best I could is how to get people who are critically ill through the ICU in as best shape that I could. I tried to treat lung disease. And then in trying to learn how to be a COVID expert with Paul, I've had to learn all of this stuff because what I saw is that the science and good pragmatic decision-making was being completely distorted, suppressed, and actually resisted against. And so then I had to say to myself, as a problem solver, remember, I'm a math guy. I like to look at variables and see what's driving what. I had to come around to the realization that literally we're against forces that are non-scientific. And they have absolutely non-scientific objectives because the science is being distorted. And so I said, what are these objectives? And they seem to be financial at every turn. And then when you see the agency's behavior, you can only understand agency policy, US agency policy, and many Western countries' policies in terms of non-scientific. And the most glaring one is this persistent ignoring of natural immunity. Defies every piece of science and active data. They literally want to vaccinate people who have recovered, who have durable and long-standing and near perfect immunity against this disease, yet it doesn't stop them from vaccinating. And yet the entire system allows this to happen, except for a few voices. And we're talking about one of the leading voices trying to call attention to that in Dr. McCullough. And there are others, but literally the sadness is that you can count them on two hands. The amount of those voices that are saying, hey, hello, the science is being totally corrupted. So when you ask about regulatory capture, and I think Tess mentioned it, I'm just going to finish, is that not only at the agencies themselves, they're literally hand in hand with pharma, but then when you look at everything below, from the medical societies to the academic medical centers, all who are trying to do research dependent on funding coming from those agencies, are they going to go against what the agencies want? Next thing you know, their research funding dries up, right? The societies don't get supported. They can't have their conferences and all the other things that they do. And so everybody is deferential. It's a rotten system. It needs to end. My hope, I'm going to finish here on the good part, is my hope is that what this pandemic did, although these policies have literally ended hundreds and thousands, if not millions of lives across the world, this system, which is described in Kennedy's book over the last 40 years, will have exhausted itself. It's going to come crashing down, and no longer will the people accept having our entire global and national health systems run essentially by pharmaceutical companies whose primary purpose and primary mission is profit making. It is not the welfare of patients. And the saddest thing is the millions of people in my country and in your countries who literally wake up each day thinking these agencies have their best interest at heart. They still think this. After almost 2 years of fighting, they still think that these agencies are benign and that they are working for their welfare. It's absolutely has to stop. And we need more truth tellers. And again, we're going back to the awakening. See, look how emotional you got me, Shabnam.